Distinguished colleagues, Chief Whip, please, let's be seated. Chief Whip, let's be seated, please. Huh? Chief Whip, please. Distinguished colleagues, let's be seated. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in a closed session deliberated on matters relevant to the workings of the Senate in particular and the National Assembly in general. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the closed session? Thank you. Please. Distinguished colleagues, votes and proceedings. Page 887, 888, 889, 890, 891, 892, 893, 894, 895, 896, 897, 898, 899, 900. Page 901, 902, 903, 904, 905, 906, 907, 908, 909, 910, page 911, 912, 913, 914, 915, 916, 917, 918, 919, 920, page 921, 922. Distinguished Senator Abdul Kwari, Kaduna North.
Thank you, Mr. President, my very distinguished colleagues. My name is Suleiman Abdul Kwari. I rise to move that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 27th July 2022 be adopted. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Moses Cleopas.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Distinguished Senator Cleopas Moses. I represent the very blessed people of Bayelsa Central Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 27 July 2022 be adopted. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 27th July 2022 is hereby approved. Distinguished colleagues, letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, approval for the establishment of a promissory note program to settle outstanding claims in respect of Export Expansion Grant EEG scheme. I write to convey the approval granted by the Federal Executive Council FEC for the establishment of a promissory note program in the sum of 375,486,874,569 naira 80 kobo to settle outstanding claims owed to various exporters from 2007 to 2020 in respect of the Export Expansion Grant Scheme during the Council meeting held on Wednesday, 13th April 2022. The approval granted by FEC is via Extract Conclusion 7 EC 2022-13. Copy of FEC memorandum and extract are attached for ease of reference. Distinguished, please. In view of the foregoing, the Senate may wish to consider and approve for the issuance of promissory note by Debt Management Office in favor of the beneficiaries attached in the Council extract. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Another letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, confirmation of appointment of Executive Commissioner for the Board of Upstream Regulatory Commission. In accordance with the provision of Section 11, subsection 3 of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, I am pleased to forward for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of Muhammad Sabo Lamido as Executive Commissioner, Finance and Accounts for the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, attached here with his nominee's curriculum vitae. The Senate is invited to note that the appointment of Muhammad Sabo Lamido as Executive Commissioner, Finance and Accounts is necessitated by the death of Hassan Gambo, who was occupying the position until his demise. While I hope that the Senate will consider and confirm the nominee in the usual expeditious manner. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Another letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, submission of the FGN 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. It is with pleasure that I forward the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, MTEF and FSP, for the kind consideration and approval of the Senate. I wish to express my deep gratitude for the enduring collaboration and commitment of the leadership and distinguished members of the Senate in our collective efforts to sustain the restoration of the January-December financial year. On our part, we have worked very hard to sustain the early submission of the MTEF and FSP. This is to allow the National Assembly sufficient time to perform its important statutory duty of reviewing the framework and strategy paper. The fiscal picture presented in the 2023-2025 MTEF and FSP is quite concerning. Consequently, the Federal Executive Council has approved and I have directed the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning to take a number of measures designed to improve the fiscal condition of the federal government over the medium term. Some of these measures require the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning to work collaboratively with the relevant committees of the National Assembly, and I hereby seek your support for such efforts. It is expected that these engagements will ultimately result in a much improved and more sustainable fiscal outlook for the federal government of Nigeria over the medium term. In the meantime, I herewith forward the 2023-2025 MTEF and FSP, as the 2023 budget of the federal government will be prepared based on the parameters and fiscal assumptions of the approved 2023-2025 MTEF FSP. I seek the cooperation of the National Assembly for expeditious legislative action on the submission. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Another letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, approval for the issuance of promissory notes to Kebbi and Taraba state governments for the construction of federal roads. I write to convey the approvals granted by the Federal Executive Council, FEC, for reimbursement of 6,706,835,495 naira 12 kobo only for Kebbi State government for the execution of 2 federal government road projects in the state, and 2,470,525,729 naira 53 kobo only in favor of Taraba State government for the construction and rehabilitation of Bali Sati Gembu Road in the state, as presented to the council meeting of 24th August 2022 via council extract approval. Copy attached here as Annex 1. In view of current fiscal constraints, I have approved that the reimbursements be made through issuance of promissory notes. In view of the foregoing, the Senate may wish to consider and approve the issuance of promissory notes by Debt Management Office DMO to Kebbi and Taraba state governments respectively. Supporting documents attached here as Annex 2 to 7. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Another letter from Mr. President. Dear distinguished Senate President, approval for the issuance of a promissory note to Yobe State for the construction of federal roads. I write to convey the approval granted by the Federal Executive Council, FEC, for reimbursement of 18,663,843,119 naira 39 kobo only to Yobe State for the execution of 5 federal government road projects in the state, as presented to the council meeting of 16th July 2022 via council. Via council extract approval. Copy attached here as Annex 1. In view, Chief Whip, in view of current fiscal constraints, I have approved that the reimbursement be made through issuance of promissory note. In view of the foregoing, the Senate may wish to consider and approve the issuance of promissory note by Debt Management Office DMO to Yobe State for the execution of 5 federal road projects in the state. Supporting documents attached here as Annex 2. Please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Announcement. Distinguished colleagues, announcement, committee chairmanship. Agriculture and Rural Development, distinguished Senator Abdullah Yahya, Chairman. Federal Capital Territory FCT Committee on FCT, Senator Smart Adeyemi. Aviation, Senate Committee on Aviation, Senator Biodun Olujimi. National Security and Intelligence Committee, Senator Ibrahim Dambaba. Primary Health Care and Communicable Diseases, distinguished Senator Clifford Ishaku Abu. 6, Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organizations, NGOs, Senator Michael Ama Nachi. Vice Chairmanship, Rules and Business, Senate Leader Senator Ibrahim Gobir. Police Affairs, Senator Danju Mala, the Deputy Minority Whip. Distinguished colleagues, let me start by welcoming us back from annual summer recess. I'm sure it was an opportunity for us to spend some quality time with our families and engage with our constituents in our various senatorial districts. I am aware that even during our recess, some of our committees continued to engage with the ministries, departments, and agencies of government like the Committee on Finance, and some committees also embark on oversight visits. I commend this sense of duty and patriotism. Distinguished colleagues, we have resumed today to continue with very good work that we have done in the last 3 years. As we all know, this resumption marks the final session of our tenure. The 9th Senate has 9 months to conclude its tenure. Like the last 3 years, we are prepared to make the remaining period very productive and successful. No doubt that the 9th Senate has performed creditably and will end very well. We scored so many feats and broke many jinxes through various legislative interventions. I must commend all of us for the commitment, dedication, and patriotism and sense of duty. Distinguished colleagues, in the next 3 months, our focus will largely be on the confirmation of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, work on the medium-term expenditure framework fiscal strategy paper 2023-2025, budget estimates 2023, working to support our defense and security forces, amongst others. The acting Chief Justice of Nigeria will be screened tomorrow, Wednesday, the 21st day of September, 2022. Also, we are expecting Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, to present the budget estimates in the first week of October. The 9th Senate has established the practice of processing the annual appropriation bill of each year between October and December. I commend distinguished senators for this achievement and a legacy that has changed the annual budgetary cycle of the federal government. My distinguished colleagues, just before we embark on our recess, the Senate showed serious concerns on the security situation in the country. We had intimate discussions on the security challenges across the country. Consequently, the leadership of the Senate had 2 engagements with the Office of the National Security Advisor, Chief of Defense Staff, Service Chiefs, Inspector General of Police, Director General of Department of State Services, Director General of Nigeria Intelligence Agency, and other heads of other security agencies, precisely on the 5th of August and 12th of September 2022, to ensure that our defense and security agencies improve on their operational strategies to secure citizens and indeed our country. From the assessment of the prevailing situation, our security agencies are recording more successes and the situation seems to be improving. Nonetheless, the Senate will continue to engage with defense and security agencies through its appropriate committees to ensure that the engagements are sustained and the successes are sustained as well. I commend our defense and security agencies for stepping up their operations. The Senate and indeed the National Assembly have always been supportive and will remain so. Distinguished colleagues, the year 2023 is a momentous period for Nigeria as elections will be held across the country. Nigerians are expected to exercise their franchise. Therefore, the Senate and indeed the National Assembly will work with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to ensure very successful, transparent, and credible elections. We are ready to support INEC in all possible ways as a legislature. Already, the timely amendment of the Electoral Act 2022 has provided very important innovations in ensuring better electoral climate. Distinguished colleagues, the economy of our country is still challenged. The Senate, working with House of Representatives and the Executive, needs to continually seek for better responses to the economic situation. Generation and collection of revenues have remained major challenges. Also, the massive loss of revenue through oil theft is debilitating and threatening to throw the economy into a coma. And we have to do something in a very uncommon fashion to reverse this. Revelations about the scale of oil theft shows that until government takes decisive actions, Nigerians could soon lose any revenue. Nigeria could soon lose any revenue from that sector. We must therefore work to ensure that everything is done to curtail this theft. Distinguished colleagues, our focus must remain on ensuring a secured and safe country and an economy that works for all citizens. In the next 9 months, our attention and devotion should bring improvement to the current situations. This Senate is a Senate that will continue to work for all Nigerians at all times. Distinguished colleagues, as we can all see, we are holding this session in a temporary chamber. There are no renovations activities going on in our chamber, the main chamber that is. The 9th National Assembly has insisted that this complex, the National Assembly complex, be renovated and remodeled to bring in line with the universal standard of good and suitable parliamentary environment. This again is going to be another legacy of the 9th National Assembly. For over 20 years, this National Assembly complex has never been renovated or rehabilitated, and therefore, we have to bear with the situation. We'll be here for a few months before our chamber can be ready. Finally, once again, I welcome us back from our recess, and I wish us a very successful session. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you for your kind attention. Petitions, petition DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Uvie Omo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I have a petition here from the law offices of Olani Pekun on behalf of my client, Chief Augustine Ogedegbe, who in turn is representing the ex-militant members of the Pero camp of the Niger Delta agitators. Mr. President, the petition is dated the 26th day of August, 2022. And Mr. President, the grounds of this petition is non-payment of the Presidential Amnesty Program allowances, and also the removal of the number of slots allocated to my constituents' camp way back in 2010. Mr. President, the petition is calling for the intervention of these chambers for assistance, and I state, Mr. President, that there is no pending litigation in this matter. With your permission, I crave your indulgence to lay the same before the Senate.
DSP, is the petitioner seeking any judicial remedy? You may lay the petition. The petition is filed to the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions report by within 4 weeks. Distinguished Senator Ayo Patrick Akinyelure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Ayo Akinyelure, representing Ondo Central. Mr. President, presentation of petition not laid but referred to the Committee on Ethics from the Office of the President of the Senate. Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions, in line with Order 14 and 3, wishes to present to the Senate some petition yet to be laid from the Office of the President of the Senate in order to officially place the petition in public domain through the floor of the Senate and for the votes and proceeding to capture the approval for referral. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, please find below a summary of petition received from the Senate President Office for ease of reference. 1. Petition from Dr. Emmanuel E. Atta and 4 others on behalf of the Federal Commissioners of the Code of Conduct Bureau. Responded, Professor Mohammed Issa, the Chairman, Code of Conduct Bureau. Subject matter of the petition. Petition against Professor Mohammed Issa, the Chairman of Code of Conduct Bureau, for maladministration, non-functionality, corruptions, and collapse of law and order in the Code of Conduct Bureau. A call for an urgent intervention. 2. Petition from Shukuma Owemene, Esquire, of Falanan Chambers, on behalf of Lieutenant Michael Friday Umako, against the Chief of Naval Staff, request for release of Lieutenant Michael Friday Umako, who has been in detention since 31st July 2021, after serving his jail terms. 3. Petition from Yunus Utsa Usman, SA, on behalf of Commando Uche Eyinadia Onuma. Respondent, the Chief of Naval Staff, they appealed for reconsideration of erroneous retirement from service and decoration of his new rank of Rear Admiral. And finally, Mr. President, petition from Barrister KK Peter on behalf of Omiri and Associate against Shell Petroleum Development Company, SPDC. Redemand to redress the gross injustice meted on our client and service company, Omiri and Associate, in respect of contract reference number NGO 1001316 A28 and NGO 1003 128 A29 for urgent intervention. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, to the best of my knowledge, none of the above petitioner is seeking judicial remedy. I therefore move, Mr. President, to seek the indulgence of the Senate to lay the above petition before the Senate for official referral to the committee for further legislative action. I so move.
Thank you very much, distinguished Chairman. Is any of the petitioners seeking any judicial remedy? You may lay the petitions then. The petitions are referred to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Any more petitions? Any more petitions? Point of order, distinguished Senator Uche Ekwenefe Iyom.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Uche Ekwenefe Iyom. Mr. President, I come from Anambra Central. I represent Anambra Central. Mr. President, my point of order is on order 41. 41 and 51. Urgent public importance. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, permit me to come under order 41 and 51 of the Senate Standing Rules to seek the leave of the Senate to present an urgent motion on the recent assassination attempt on our colleague, distinguished Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, and the gruesome killing of some of his personal aides and other illustrious sons of Anambra State. With your kind permission, Mr. President, and the leave of my colleagues, can I present it?
No, just hold on. The Senate would have to approve it first. You know, since you have come under those two orders, we need the endorsement of at least 1/5 of our colleagues here. So those in favor of motion that she is giving the go-ahead to present the motion, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my colleagues, the Senate notes with deep concern the attack on Senator Ifeanyi Ubah's convoy on Sunday, September 11, 2022, at Enugu in Njikoka local government area of Anambra State. Mr. President, the Senate further notes with sadness that the attack on Senator Ifeanyi Ubah led to the gruesome killing of one of our greatest sons, Chief Onyeka Nnọli of Umbre, two of Ifeanyi Ubah's long-serving personal aides, and 2 mobile police personnel. Mr. President, the Senate is concerned that the killings, maiming and wanton destruction of lives have now become a recurring decimal in the southeastern part of Nigeria, where unknown gunmen terrorize citizens on a regular basis. The Senate recalls that Honorable Kechukwu Okoye, a serving lawmaker in Anambra State House of Assembly, was recently kidnapped, murdered, and gruesomely beheaded. To date, no arrest or report has been made in the connection with this killing. The Senate is worried that these attacks by armed men have continued in the Southeast, despite repeated government assurances to address this pervasive security crisis in our country, especially in the Southeast. The Senate further worried that if the federal government does not intervene urgently, these heinous and barbaric killings may continue, thereby subjecting the people of Anambra State to untold fear and hardship. In view of the points raised, Mr. President, I wish to accordingly urge the Nigerian Senate to 1, observe a minute silence in honor of the victims that lost their lives in this very unfortunate attack. 2, to direct the Nigerian Police Force, Department of State Services, and other relevant security agencies to carry out comprehensive investigations into the incident with a view to arresting and prosecuting the perpetrators. The Senate mandates the Nigerian Police Force, Department of State Services, and relevant security agencies to report findings back to the Senate Committee on National Security and Intelligence, as well as the Senate Committee on Police Affairs within 2 weeks of this motion. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I so submit.
Distinguished Senator Albert Basi Akpag.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished and respected colleagues, Senator Albert Basi Akpan, Akwa Ibom Northeast, YPP. Mr. President, I rise to solemnly second this motion of urgent national importance and significance, ably moved by Iyom. Mr. President, I bring to Senator Ifeanyi the empathy of the good people of Akwa Ibom Northeast. It's quite unfortunate that my brother was with me in Akwa Ibom State to support our little efforts in rescuing Akwa Ibom State just about 3 weeks before this incident happened. So we in our senatorial district are as traumatized as distinguished Senator Ifeanyi and his people. For a man who has contributed so humanly in uplifting the living conditions and the standard of life of his people, to be so treated is quite unfortunate, Mr. President. And I thank God Almighty for saving his life. As you can see, he still looks traumatized. He still looks traumatized. He has not been himself. So I believe these are several incidences, just too much in the Southeast, Mr. President. And I think as the Chamber and as National Assembly, we cannot still fold our hands. God forbid today is Ifeanyi, who knows next? So I stand tall to say that we owe this country a responsibility in ensuring the lives and the property of Nigerians are safe, Mr. President. So, Mr. Ifeanyi, on behalf of our people, we say, may God take all the glory for saving your life. I so second this motion, and I urge that immediate steps be taken by this National Assembly to find out those behind these worrisome incidents on the lives of one of our colleagues. An injury to one, they say, is an injury to all. I so second, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues.
Distinguished Senator Biodun Olujimi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Biodun Olujimi. I represent Ekiti South. Mr. President, I rise also to add my voice to what my earlier colleague who seconded said about this dastardly act. And I want to thank Iyom Ekonife for bringing it to the fore. When we had Mr. President, we thought it was a joke because we cannot imagine that in broad daylight, such a dastardly act will happen in Nigeria, a country where there are laws governing every institution. It is so very unfortunate. We thank God for rescuing him, but we ask, what next? Because as a body, we need to look deeper into the problem of insecurity. Only today you brought it to the fore, Mr. President. We still must do a lot more. We have not done enough. We must do a lot more, because if this can happen in broad daylight to a man who had a convoy of more than 6 cars, you can imagine what will happen to people who are driving in single cars. Mr. President, our situation needs a whole lot for it to improve. And I am using this opportunity to also encourage the security agencies to go ahead and do a lot more and bring these people to book. We must know those who are perpetrating such ugly incidents in our country. I lend my condolences to Senator Ifeanyi, who looks traumatized. When he came today, you could see trauma in his eyes. And I pray that this will abate. I also pray for all of us that we will never encounter such deadly and desperate human beings in our country again. Thank you, Mr. President.
DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me join in commending Senator Ekunife for bringing this motion. Mr. President, ordinarily, I would have expected and would have actually wanted the motion to be brought by Senator Ifeanyi Uba himself. But Mr. President, I will take that back. Having seen the trauma and the pain looking into the eyes of our brother and colleague. Mr. President, first and foremost, as bad as it is, we must thank God, notwithstanding the loss of lives. We must thank God for sparing the life of our brother and colleague. It could have been worse, Mr. President. We thank God for saving him. Mr. President, as alluded to in the motion, this is not the first time we're dealing with this kind of gruesome attack and killing in Anambra State. And nothing, no arrest has been made, and of course, no prosecution has been commenced. And we are worried about this, Mr. President. But Mr. President, I also want to indicate here that security should not be seen as the exclusive preserve or within the exclusive province of the Nigerian police. All of us, all Nigerians, we should be interested and we should all contribute our quota in providing security for our people. Mr. President, I say this most especially in connection with the activities of some of the state governments who could do more. It's not just enough for Nigerian police alone to be saddled with this responsibility. Mr. President, we've been in several security briefings, and we know the contributions, or do I say the sacrifices, or do I say the prioritization of security by some state governors? Some of these governors know that funds could be channeled to construction of roads, funds could be channeled to education, and all of these are laudable, no doubt. But they chose instead to make security their priority by voting big money, big sum of money, for the acquisition of these security gadgets to help protect their states. And Mr. President, I can single out a state like Imo State, for example. We all know that Imo had been pretty much a war zone for pretty much 1 year plus, or about a year and a half. But we also know that because of the investment in security by the governor of Imo State, Governor Uzodimma, the insecurity challenges there has been pretty much been arrested. It is not only in Imo State. We've also seen that in Ekiti. We've seen that in some other states. In Kano State, we've seen that. Mr. President, the issue I'm driving at is this. What is wrong for a state government like the state government of Anambra State, after the killing of a colleague of ours, a member of the State House of Assembly, beheaded in that manner? What is wrong if that state, for instance, would have made some investment in acquisition of these security equipment and gadgets? With those acquisitions, Mr. President, it will not be difficult to track those who attempted the life of our colleague. So I just wanted to bring this issue up, that we should encourage our state governors, that they should not see security as the exclusive preserve of the Nigerian police, and they should also rise up to the occasion so that we don't have to deal with situations like Senator Ifeanyi Uba in the future. Mr. President, today it is, or the other day it was Ifeanyi Uba. It could be any of us. So I want us to take this very, very seriously. And while on my feet, I want to join in the motion in also extending my deep heart condolences and that of the people I represent in Delta Central District to the families of I believe, the 5 people who lost their lives in that attack. I thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Obinna Ogba.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Obinna Ogba, Joseph, Ebonyi Central. I rise to support this motion, ably moved by my distinguished colleague, Senator Uche Ekunife Iyom. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to join other speakers to sympathize with my brother and the colleague, and at the same time, thank the Almighty God for saving his life. It is not by his power or strength, but by the special grace of God. Now, all of us will ever remain grateful to Almighty God. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you will agree with me that these security issues is everyday occurrence. There's no day we come to these chambers without talking about security. And my problem is that if we are not talking, it seems we are not talking. And when we are talking, it seems nobody is hearing what we are saying. Let me align myself with the position of the Deputy Senate President. I don't see why when you go outside the countries, even ordinarily, if somebody is moving, if you pick something on the street, somebody somewhere will see you that you have picked something on the street. Is it not better that can't we have such thing in Nigeria? Or is there any law against that? And Mr. President, if there's no law, I think that there's need for these chambers to see how we can initiate such bill. Let us have a gadget that we monitor, even if we can't go all the roads, to monitor the federal roads, the major roads. As claimed, for instance, if you go outside the country now, even inside the shops, supermarket, anything that happens there, you will see the way the people come into the shop, the way they go out, and where they are going. We can still do that here. We have enough resources, we have enough manpower to be able to do that. But I don't know what is our problem. Mr. President, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. I also sympathize with the families and the Anambra government for losing those people, particularly the Nigerian police. See, the poor people who are there, many of these policemen who died there, they are breadwinners of their families. And look at how they just went like that. So I sympathize with them. And you can imagine some of them who has security, and you imagine people who have none. like some of us that IG has withdrawn our security policemen for no reason. We are just at the mercy.
Distinguished, you should round up, please.
Colleagues, I know my president will always defend, even when it's not possible for you to defend, but you will defend. Thank you very much, sir.
Senator Emmanuel Bacha.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I remain Senator Boacha, represent Taraba South. Mr. President, I want to congratulate our brother, our colleague, for surviving that terrible attack. And as the speakers before me have said, the devastation is all over our brother. And I can understand why he didn't personally present this motion. Mr. President, I agree with the Deputy Senate President that the level of insecurity we have in this country demands that all hands must be on deck. We must not be seen passing buck all the time. Those who are supposed to do the needful should rise and do it. The state governors, ourselves in the parliament should be involved. And I'm saying this with all sense of humility, that some of the governors need to do more. Because when killings are going on under your watch as the chief security officer of a state, and you are saying nothing, that tells of the incompetency that is inherent in some of these governors. I said our brother Ifeanyi was rescued from the gruesome hands of death, not because he was smart, it's because his time had not yet done. Because whether in a bulletproof car or whatever it is, if your time is up, there is nothing you can do about it. But the question arises, how many of us have the privilege to ride even in the, because certainly the bulletproof have contributed significantly in preserving his life. Of course, there must always be a reason for you to stay beyond your time. So we want to say, let those who are involved in handling securities of communities, state, wake up to their duties and help us preserve the lives of those who are vulnerable. I thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity. And I say we have similar challenge all over the place. But for some of us who know this, we know that we need to encourage ourselves to do more. May the Lord help Nigeria out of this dangerous situation.
Distinguished Senator Abaribe.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Enyin Naya Abaribe. I represent Abia South. And I want to join my colleagues to give my condolences for those who died in his convoy. I think that's the most traumatic thing that happens to somebody, because these are people that you know. These are people that have become part of your family. These are people that eat with you, drink with you, stay with you, and you know them. And you go out and one, just in a twinkle of an eye, they are no more. And when that happens, we all know what it means. I have had the unfortunate situation sometime in 2008 when people also killed a policeman that was with me in trying to kill me. So I know what our brother and friend is going through. My own is, as much as I adopt everything that all my previous colleagues have said, is that right now in the Southeast, there are people that we call conflict entrepreneurs who are utilizing the
Distinguished, you take the next 1 minute. We have to close by 2.
who are utilizing the serious security situation there to unleash mayhem. I joined the Deputy Senate President to actually continue to ask the security agencies to do much more than they're doing now. Because each and every one of us is going into campaigns, and we're all going to be at home and we'll be running around. That means that nobody is safe. Noting also, sir, that when kidnapping started in the South, it's spread all over the country now. So we don't want this type of ugly incident to spread throughout the country. I wish each and every one of us safety in going around our business in Nigeria. I so submit.
Distinguished colleagues, will go to the prayers. Prayer 1, observe a minute's silence in honor of victims that lost their lives in the unfortunate attack. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Prayer 2, direct the Nigerian Police Force, Department of State Services, and other relevant security agencies to carry out comprehensive investigations into the incident with a view to arresting and prosecuting the perpetrators. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. Prayer 4, observe a minute silence. May the souls of our departed compatriots rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate, move for standing down whatever is in the order paper.
Your Excellency, I move for adjournment. I mean for standing down.
Not adjournment. We stand down the items. Yes. Yes. Okay. Minority.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we stand down all items on the order paper till another legislative day. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Adjournment.
Your Excellency, I move for adjournment to tomorrow, Wednesday, 21st September 2022. I so move, Your Excellency.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that this Senate do now adjourn to 21st day of September 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do adjourn till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 21st day of September 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, 21st day of September 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt. You may stay behind.